I give myself permission
I give myself permission
and allow myself to be prosperous
and allow myself to be prosperous
and have a successful, meaningful life with myself, others, and the divine.
And the divine. A little slow on the divine.
That's all right. The divine doesn't care. It's okay.
I'm gorilla.
I am at peace with myself and my environment. And enjoy the great opportunities for my prosperity. On a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra, thank you. Thank you very much. And while we're saying thank you, let's thank AJ also because I asked him to tell us why he did this. So AJ, please, would you mind sharing that with people? It's very important.
So today's actual, I didn't know this. My mom called me this morning and told me that today's the start of the big Indian festival season. And it goes hand in hand with what we're studying here, the whole light over darkness. As this time around, not darkness over light. It's light over darkness. little dyslexia. Yes. And it's almost a month-long celebration, and first night is supposed to be with family and friends. So, as I was mentioning earlier, maybe a little bit darker than most, but you guys are still my spiritual family. So, wanted to bring that in for everyone.
Very kind.
Family that we choose is so much better than
At least easier.
Sure.
Take the fifth.
No, I tell the truth.
I want to take a few minutes right now because this has been a long week for me. This has been a very hard week for me. Has it been for you? Yeah. Now I'm going to ask us right now, just take a few minutes and imagine there is a sphere. We're standing on our prosperity circle right now, all of us. And we've established a sphere around us, and within this sphere, there's only gratitude, appreciation, love, and respect. Okay, if there's any darkness, let's follow this in, let's get it out. And while we're in this class, while we're doing this work, and for as long as you want, let that sphere follow you and keep you protected. So let's just take a few minutes and do this, please. Good. Let's just keep putting more light into that sphere. Let's make it be super strong, surrounding us. Keep it going. Just keep it going. Blessings for a few moments more. We're almost there. Good. Very good. Very good. Can you feel the difference now? Yeah. Things are quieter now. Much quieter. Much more even. We're all closer to this now, to spirit. Let's start this with more gratitude. How about 3 good gratitude statements of things that have happened to us this week? 3 good things. Anyone want to start?
I got to dance in the rain today.
Fantastic. Very good. Very good. Took a lot of courage. Good job. Very good. So we got number 1. Okay. Where's number 2? Dan.
I got to teach wellness and fitness to a blind group. It's an organization that had some training for independent skills for the blind, and it was very fun and rewarding.
Very good. Excellent. Very good. Very good. It's like for both of you, things are moving up. It took a lot of courage to do both of those things. Very good. 3rd.
I witnessed somebody accepting the challenge of healing and choosing life.
Very good. Very good. Okay, let's go with 4.
I moved
moved into my own apartment by myself.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Good stories. Good stories. It's very important we keep giving back gratitude to this universe, right? Very important. I was bicycling in Allen over the weekend. We went past this health food store, and they had a sign up that said, "Never put an old person inside of you." Never put an old person inside of you. I stopped there, and I really admired that sign. I enjoyed that sign. What do you think it means? What do you think it means?
Like my dad would say, don't get old.
Don't get old. Okay. Good. And anyone else?
Old is a choice.
Old is a choice. Okay. Anyone else? These are good
Be
ideas.
yourself all the time.
Right. Be
Be
yourself.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Don't allow anything else. Be yourself.
Be yourself.
The
Okay.
sign I saw was live as long as you live.
Very good.
Oh.
I like that. Very good. Now, if we go back to any of those statements, we always have to have a reference point. So our reference point is, are we living from brain, heart, or spirit when we talk about staying young, being young, and acting young? Where are we working? Brain, heart, or spirit? Spirit. 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 Because I guarantee you the fastest way we're going to age is for you and I to go into our brain or heart, because that is a lot of judgment in that area. And if we're having that type of judgment, you can rest assured that people around us are probably going to have that judgment also. It's going to be a long week. Okay? So I had to admit often this week that I was living in sin. We've talked about this before, self-imposed nonsense. So I would just accept the fact that I created the sin, and I would just go back into my meditative circle, and I would imagine myself just accepting the forgiveness of God, because God's already forgiven us, but I had to accept it. And it was amazing how fast I could drop out of, because I generally go to my heart when I'm creating problems. I went from my heart down to my spirit, and it was amazing how fast things could turn around, and I would get more energized, and things would turn around a lot faster. I mean, I think you've seen things like this before, right? Yeah. So tonight we're also talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness. I can't tell you how many times I've created problems just living in sin, one form or another, realizing I've done it, turn it over, really feel that appreciation for what I've done, understanding what I can do next now to move forward in terms of spirit, do it, and watch how fast things change for the better. I've seen it time after time after time. Have you seen that for yourselves?
Yes.
No. So tonight, I'm asking you to be conscious of this, because since we took our trip up to heaven, we won't have to do nearly as much as we used to. Because I'm going to tell you, the people that haven't done things like this, and we're trying to explain what we're doing in this class to people that have not taken a trip like that, it's astounding how difficult it is for a lot of people out there to get out of their brain and heart and try to understand the concept of spirit. It's just astounding. Yeah.
Something I feel moved to add to the conversation. One of the most powerful statements that you can ever make is "I am." And a number of my friends go around, "I am old, I am set, I am old, I am this, I am that." And when you're having, it's just so good. And so I wanted to slap them upside the head, and they don't grasp the concept of the power of that statement. So whenever I go into that negative "I am" thing, I immediately catch myself and throw in something positive. I am young, I am strong, I am prosperous. And that statement is very, very powerful.
That's right. That's right.
It's so simple.
That's so simple. Right. Please.
I'm having a little bit of a backlash in my life with, and I don't talk a whole lot with my wife and my son about this, although they should be receptive to it. I just tell them it's good and it's helpful, because I'm still sorting my relationship with this whole idea out.
Right.
But I've been finding like people who know nothing or don't know anything about what's going on are actively testing my center at almost every turn to see if I can continue moving in the direction I'm moving in.
Okay.
And quite out of character for them. I don't know if that's just the balance point that I'm trying to reach in this, or whether I just need to bring them out here and get them balanced out. My wife had a bit of a freak out on me 3 or 4 days ago and said some absolutely horrendous things that were just exactly the things I didn't really need to hear in the middle of trying to sort this stuff out. So I've had a rough week, and I stepped on a nail. Do I need a tetanus shot? Because I don't think I do. Yeah. Okay, just checking.
But if we can go back to that for just a moment, and if I ask you, Spirit, why are you going through this? It's kind of like drawing the dross out of metal so you can purify the metal. And she's really pushing to see just how pure you've become and how far you've become, encouraging you to go further. Because you know what it's like to go back to the old ways.
Absolutely.
You know what that's like. And we all know what that's like, all of us. Okay? Now, people will push hard. Okay? And then we have to decide how are we going to respond. She's watching.
Yeah.
Watching to see what's happening next.
Okay.
She's your best friend.
She is.
Right?
She is.
She really
That was
is.
tough, but I walked away and got out of the situation, and she said that she was sorry for doing what she did the next morning, so.
Yeah. And I can tell you that she respects you a whole lot more from the way you treated this whole situation in this new perspective than it would have been from the past.
No, it would have been an argument for 12 straight hours.
Right. Good job. Good work. Please.
So I've been having like interesting dreams, but I've been having weird sleep patterns. Like I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm like wide awake, but then I'll fall asleep like at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'll have really vivid dreams. And some of them include people from way, 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 way past that I had like forgotten about. But just weird circumstances, funny things that just make no sense. But like some interesting people are popping up in my dreams from way back.
Okay.
So is that part of all of this, or
Okay.
is it just something weird?
Well, I would say that all of us in this room are more than weird in a nice way. That's a given. That's a given. But thank goodness we can understand. Okay. So if we go back to what your spirit is saying, the spirit is taking me to the heart level for you. And the heart level deals with, if we check your paper here, fear, doubt, uncertainty. It's bringing up issues about the past where it's trying to give you, according to your human side, another way of dealing with those people, those situations, so that that should happen again, you know what to do this time around. But even though that's a great idea, it's still coming from the concept of the human side. So that's bringing up some fear, doubts, or uncertainty, like, will I know what to do? Of course you'll know what to do the next time.
Well, what was interesting about this one particular dream, it was like I didn't have any emotions towards them, positive or negative. It was like very neutral, but I also, in the dream, like, did not respond to them, like I didn't go there.
Right.
And it was just very weird.
Well, the not going there, I believe, is part of the uncertainty. I'm not sure what to do, so I didn't do anything. From the spirit, when you drop down, and I'll ask you to think about this for next week maybe. Think about what you would have done if you were working from the spirit during that time. Might have been a lot different. Might have been a lot different. But that's where you're taking me right now for that. So it's just giving you more courage to do more speaking, more interaction with larger groups of people. That's where this is taking you. Does that make any sense?
Kind of, but it doesn't really make sense with these particular folks.
Okay.
I mean, specifically, it was my ex-father-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, and ex-sister-in-law. My ex-father-in-law's passed away after years. I never really had much of a relationship, you know, one way or another. They've been out of my life for, my goodness, many, many,
Right.
many years. And it's like, it was kind of like, why are they popping up now after all these years?
Okay, in that regard, it's the uncertainty of like, did they like me? It's more about did they like me versus did I like them? It's that uncertainty about whoever these people are. That's what's coming from the heart. Now, if we want to drop down to spirit, spirit would reverse that. Spirit would ask you to look at those people and say, did I really like them?
Oh, yeah, no, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's
And it was
the
kind of
issue.
like, nah. Like,
Right, yeah.
but it wasn't, I didn't have like a negative feeling or a positive. It was like just neutral, but it was just odd.
Well,
But it was very real.
right, but the fact that it was odd, the fact that this occurred, comes more from the fear side than it came from the spirit side. Because, again, sometimes if you're afraid, you won't answer, you won't do anything. It's more from that angle. Think about it for a moment, because I need to move on right now, but just think about that, okay? All right, so let's go into this concept of what we need to work on tonight. Ran across this catalog called Tools for Freedom. And on the back here, they say, get a load of this. Everyone has hidden psychic abilities. That's what they say on the back here. Imagine that. Learn how to activate your sixth sense for greater personal empowerment. Okay, so then they say, refer to page 80. Well, you've got page 80 there. And I want to refer you to something right now. In one of the books there. I thought the book was fascinating. Okay, here. So take a look at your sheet there. All right, and it's the next to the last topic there. How to manifest solid objects out of thin air. Okay.
eBay.
Very good. Hey, you watch, you could read one book here. Very good. Okay, but for those of you who are not using the computer, okay, so any ideas about this? Is it possible?
Yes.
Take a look at what they say. And this is interesting with what they say here. Let's see, let's go back to this. Okay, so they're talking about vector intention, which is willpower, okay, according to them. Cortico-enteric brain complex, okay, so they're going back to the brain, of course. But you notice they're going to brain. They're going to brain here. Bio-mind, okay, full body aura, including 5 senses. Okay, now they're talking about, okay, some of the things we're talking about in terms of spirit. Imagination and knowledge of the object to be manifested. Well, of course, that's useful. And then you create this object by creating a thought template, introducing the photons. Now, the photons are the smallest elements that we're aware of information. They're light particles that have information about whatever system you're working with. It could be about the cells of your body, about what's going on in this room. It could be about anything. Okay? And if the photons that come and occupy the arrangement. Essential to remember that we have no limits, only beliefs. Well, if we go back to what we've been talking about here, about brain, heart, or spirit, where do you think we can manifest what they're describing? Well, actually, you're right. You are right, but we could also do it in the brain, and we could also do it in the heart, just as well. The problem is, what we're going to manifest is an imperfect reproduction of what we want if we're coming from brain and heart. Because, hey, we all know how good we are coming from brain and heart about getting things that are there. They're right there in front of us, but they're probably not what's going to make us happy. And they may not even be correct for us. We know that. So we can manifest these things. And no matter what techniques we're using in our brain and heart, it's the same techniques that we use in spirit. So basically what we're doing is, no matter where we are, but I'm going to refer obviously to spirit, we imagine in our mind that this is what I want. Okay, whatever it is. We've already given ourselves permission to have it by the techniques we've been using, such as using that prosperity circle. We're putting our thank you, our gratitude into it. And then we allow the energy of God to come in, which they're not talking about, but you know, there's an old saying that everything we want or need is controlled or owned by someone else. As far as I can tell, God owns and controls everything. So I'm going to go to that energy. All right? And then I just allow that to manifest in my mind and see it in front of me. And the intensity that I have in my spirit, and in my spirit my intensity is, okay, this is what I want, it's already formed, I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to do much about it, I can just let it happen, I go about my business because I'm confident, I don't have to be preoccupied like I would in my brain or heart where I'm just focusing and focusing and focusing and focusing. We don't have to do that, we just have to let it happen. Do you see how easy this could possibly be? It's really amazing what could possibly happen if we really took this seriously and gave it permission to work. It's really amazing. Now again, if you want to do it in the brain and heart, you can do the same thing, but boy, it's going to be tough and it's going to be unmerciful. Okay? Now, it will be, because we know this, and then you won't be happy with it or it won't work at all. Okay, so I just want to refer to some of these great ideas that are coming through, that what we're doing in here has far, far-reaching purposes. Far-reaching purposes. Yeah. Now, let's go to this part, which I'm going to be putting into my book here, about the brain, heart, and spirit. And I want to make sure I bring this to your attention because it's vitally important to understand this. I go to the worst area, which is the brain area. Now, when I talk about brain and heart, I'm not talking about people that were born as brain people or they were born as a heart person. I'm not talking about that. Because as a heart person myself, I can go to my brain and I can start creating all types of problems for my brain just as readily as I can go to my heart. So can you, regardless of the orientation in which you were born. It just so happens that for some reason, it seems like for certain issues at certain times, we are locked into, if we're not careful, into one of those human sides. And like I've said, and I'll keep saying this, like Robin Williams, before he committed suicide. Because I went back over this and I checked all of this myself just a few weeks ago. Just weeks before he committed suicide, he went from his heart to his brain. And when he committed suicide, he was working from his brain. All of these mass murderers that we're reading about, they're all working from brain. All working from brain. Brain is anger, frustration, explosive, combative. Now, it may not be about someone else, you may not be attacking someone else, but you will at least attack yourself. And it becomes a very difficult position, and when I talk to people that are in their brain, now that I'm understanding this, I don't even try to get through to them, because in most cases I can't. The best you can do is attempt to agree with them, and keep praying for them. Because as long as they're in their brain, no one can reach them, no one. I had a conversation with a person whose daughter she's dying, she's in her 20s. She's dying of cancer. The mother calls me, wants me to help. The mother is definitely in her brain, the daughter is in her brain. The mother is definitely a part of the world, and I'm trying to explain to her, because they're looking for a miracle from me, that I have no miracles. That the only miracle that could happen here would be for the mother to get out of her brain and get down to her spirit and keep working with her daughter from that spirit level. Spent 2.5 hours talking to this person. I needed to get through at least this much barrier through her, the mother, to try to understand this. I may have made it through that far in 2.5 hours. I'm not exaggerating. 2.5 hours. Working with people out there who don't understand this, and I can't blame them, because who is talking about this? Like, who? And then, even if they begin to talk about, well, you just have to get to God and you have to do these things, well, how are you going to do it? Because if you're still stuck in your brain or your heart, you're not going to get there. You won't get there. So that's why I've asked for, and I want to thank you for, whatever you've sent me so far about your experiences, but the more you can send, the better, because this will all be part of the book. We must start educating people out there about opportunities for themselves, because it isn't working out the way it is. Okay, so being in the brain, it is very, very difficult, very much impossible, and we're setting ourselves up for failure in a gigantic way. So we either hurt ourselves or we're going to hurt others, or both. Okay? It's not impossible to work with these people, but you better know from where you're working if you're working with them, to make sure that you're not going to be part of the sacrifice here. Okay, let's go to heart. Heart is a lot better than being in the brain, but the heart is pretty much a transition between, of course, brain and spirit, but it's still not a panacea. Heart will have to deal with fear, doubt, uncertainty, will be anxious. Okay? In fact, I was talking to a patient today, and without she saying anything, she just walks in. I looked at her and said, you're feeling anxious today, aren't you? She goes, well, how did you know? I said, well, you're showing me that your heart is just like exposing, and you're working for everything, making all your decisions from the heart. That gave me a reason to go into this and explain it to them, because they didn't understand these things prior to this, but showing them something like this, they began to understand they're creating this. This is very, very important. Yeah. And then, of course, spirit. Spirit is a balance. You're working in spirit, you're calm. You know what that feeling is like, right? And you know when you're not there. Okay? It's relaxed, and it's focused with clarity. That's why I'm saying, if you should feel yourself out of spirit, I don't care where you're going, if you're not sure where you are, it doesn't matter. If you're not calm, you don't feel balanced, you're in sin, you might as well just admit it, just get back to the truth, drop that, do the things we've been talking about, and get back into spirit as fast as you can. Don't waste time. Just don't waste time. Okay?
And maybe a good point to also add, like what we were talking about with my friend who was definitely functioning at that level, and how I picked up her anxiety,
Yes,
and how the message came through to me about watching and protecting myself when I'm talking to this particular friend.
right.
Because immediately I said I felt anxious, and definitely, she was working definitely, from the heart area.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good point, Gary. So how does one protect themselves? Like if they're talking with a friend or something?
Okay, now these are
That's
good
what we need to
questions.
learn.
These are very good questions. So let's go back to what we've been talking about so far. What would you do? What would you do?
Get calm.
Circle,
Immediately.
Immediately, right?
always.
Right,
Yeah.
always, right. At the very least, what I do is, before I go anywhere or do anything, I'll put everyone, whether I know who's going to be there or not, into that circle, and I will start blessing them, hopefully as far apart, like it's a week ahead, certainly a week ahead, or whatever I can do, so when I get there, everything is working to help me and them at the same time. Okay. It's amazing how that changes things. Amazing. And then if we forget to do it, then we immediately, that's it. That's right, put ourselves into the circle, admit we've created sin, release it, and put them in too, and give them the option of doing the same thing. We can't force them, but we can at least help them. Yeah.
The other thing that I've realized when I've started to talk to people is there's an old saying that people will only hear when they're ready to hear.
Right.
And I know that some people have programs they're running and nothing's gonna change.
Right.
So when I pick up on that and I recognize that, I just move on.
Right.
It's not worth my time to put up a circle even, I'm gone.
Right, right. And that's true. That is true. And that does happen. Anyone else? Yes.
I've started in my meditations allowing my spirit to maintain my circle even when I'm not conscious enough to maintain it.
Thank you. So you're letting it run constantly 24/7. Good. That's very important that we do that. Did everyone catch that? And since you've been letting it run 24/7, what are you experiencing now?
I mean, I've been a lot more successful at work. I just moved,
Yeah.
and so things are going a lot better.
Yeah. It's a lot easier, right?
Right. It's just a lot. I don't pick up on things from people as much. I go back to being centered all the time.
Right.
I find that every breath I take, I feel my circle.
Right.
I actually can physically feel it with the texture of it. It's just a lot more vivid.
Yeah, yeah. And that's pretty consistent from what I've seen too, and getting feedback from other people. Thank you. Anyone else? Scott?
I'm just curious, is there a way to overdo that? Because when I do my meditation, closing in the morning and at night, I always include all planes of existence and all sentient creatures everywhere through all time and all space effectively. Is that overreaching or is that okay?
Well, what do you think? What do you think? Can you overdo it? Yeah. I mean, as long as it's coming from spirit, keep doing it.
Okay, just to make sure it wasn't.
Oh, yeah. This is good. This is good. Very good. Good
Getting all
stuff.
the aliens in line.
There you go. Very
They
good.
need,
Send it to
they need love
Washington,
too.
DC.
Yeah. So, yes.
And I just have a basic little statement that I use, and I just say, I am that I am, and nothing can harm me, for I am Christ in the light of God. It's just something that simple. Anytime I'm in a situation that I think that somebody might try to come into my space, I am that I am. And nothing can harm me, for I am Christ in the light of God. Something simple like that.
Yeah, it works. With that intention, it works. It's kind of amazing. Okay, any other ideas? Anything else?
Just on that note, one of my favorite self-defense moves was a little old lady was sitting on a bench and a man came to attack her and she looked him in the eye and pointed and said, "I know your mother." And he froze and he turned around and he laughed.
Well, ladies, I've always said you have the power.
Thought we should share that.
Very good. Very good. I wanted to take a story tonight, and I think Sandra was going to be gracious enough to share some information. We could maybe take it apart and kind of analyze it according to what we're learning. We can see how this could be very useful. Yeah, so, would you mind, Sandra?
Wouldn't mind at all. I have a 12-year-old granddaughter, and she was diagnosed with depression several months ago. And she was prescribed one pill, 10 milligrams a day. And It's okay, Scott.
Sorry.
I can feel it from here. So on Tuesday night, she took 10 pills.
Oh, gosh.
And she was sick all night, didn't tell her parents, her mom or stepdad. Went to school the next day, felt sick all day. I picked her up at school and I knew something was wrong. Her mom was home, so she told her mom what had happened. And we use that word grateful, thankful, so many times. This is the biggest grateful I've experienced. This is a child who's caring, loving, just a beautiful soul. And so I called various friends for prayer support, and my daughter said today that she's had an epiphany that it's equal to the epiphany she had about 10 years ago about taking control of her life. Because this child was raising herself. I was doing what I could as a grandparent, but I'm not the parent, and no one was giving me permission to be the parent. So, like I say, I'm extremely grateful. I talked to Gary, and he said, "You're in sin," because I was walking around with all this guilt. I've not done something, and he said, "You're in sin. You're in your heart." I was anxious, fearful. And so I happened to turn on the TV and they were talking about forgiving yourself and how to do this. And I did this simple little exercise and I don't have to walk around with that. It's not mine to have. And I can't be a good presence for her with that going on. So they've tested her, nothing is damaged. It's just a miracle. I have no other way to say it. It's a miracle she's with us.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what's her first name?
Ameline.
Emily, okay.
Amyline. Pronounced so many different ways, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so, thank you.
Thank you
very
for this
much.
group, because this training and your support has changed me, has allowed a real shift in me, and I'm there for my family in a different way.
Okay.
A powerful way.
Thank you. Now, let's take what we've learned here and what we saw a couple of weeks ago when we took a breakdown of the different elements. Let's go back to the concept of prosperity: health, wealth, relationships, and time. But before we can activate those 4 items, we have to decide, where's Emily working? If we're looking at her, what do you think drove her to commit this act? Brain, heart, or spirit? Brain.
The
Yeah.
statement which she made was, I want to be happier.
Mhm.
And so in her mind, the more pills you take, the happier you become.
Mhm. Yeah. And unfortunately, she's learned that through that human society that pushes these drugs. It's a shame. But let's take control of this, because we're going to work in the human side first, because that's where she is first. And we're going to go out of there and go into the spirit and look at the solution. Because there is a solution here. There's something very bright at the end of this. So, with that, Emmeline. Now, we have 1 of 4 areas where she was working. Okay, health, wealth, relationships, or time. Now, you can muscle test her for all of these. I'm going to save some time right now. And when I look at her and I go to her, since we know she's in the brain, the first area that comes out, primary area, it's wealth. Okay, so she's going to wealth. It's coming out first. That's first. The second area, almost without question, if there's wealth coming up first, time will come up second. In this case, time does come up second. Second is time. Now, time, living in the human side, I don't care if it's brain or heart, never deals with the immediate. It's never about the moment. It's always going back into the past. So this young lady was thinking about her situation from the past, so she's going into the past. And when I ask her spirit to tell me more, her spirit will say she's going into the past because she's dealing with relationships. Okay, it's past issues. If we go into family or school, it's family. If I ask, is it about parents or siblings, it's parents. And if I go into mom or dad, it's her dad. It's coming up her father. Yeah, it's her dad. So she's going into the past. She's going back you said she's 12 years old? She's going back 4, 8, 10, about 10 years ago. She's going back about 10 years ago. And she's dealing with debt. Now, I'm not blaming anyone, I'm not creating any type, I'm just trying to understand this myself so we can kind of get an understanding of how would we use this to help ourselves or others. Okay, so if we go into time, this is where she's taking us. If we go into wealth, it has to be about, it's either about business or personal. And let's see, so for her, if we're going into the brain, truth, it's business. Okay? Now, you might think, well, that sounds pretty odd, 12-year-old, who's a businessman. Well, it's either about things or people. And if we ask now, since she's in the business sense in her brain, if I ask for primary truth here, primary truth, it's things. It's things. Okay? And if I go to things, well, it's either about money or other things. So it's either about money or other things like home, cars, clothing, situations like this. We've just got to keep an open mind, let our spirit guide us. Okay, so it's things. Let's see, primary truth, yeah, it's things. And is it money or other things? Primary truth, it's money. Money. Now, why do you think a 12-year-old is focusing upon money?
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure, okay.
Freedom.
Freedom, liberty. That's right.
Freedom.
Liberty.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So she's thinking, go ahead.
She's going back 10 years, she was only 2 years old.
Right.
So she's worried about money at 2?
She wasn't, but the family was.
That's when her mother divorced, her mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I didn't know this, but that's what she's telling us.
Yeah.
Okay. And so she's telling us this, that she's going back to that period of time, and she thinks that if she can somehow get money, or if I somehow can have something that I can use for control, then I can have some confidence in that, and then maybe these things won't hurt me. These people around me won't hurt me, these drugs won't hurt me, this situation won't hurt me. So she's going back to an old series of fears that are driving this, and in this case, since she's working from her brain, this is not a fear, she's actually working into a very self-destructive mode. She's exploding. Exploding. Literally exploding. That's why she took 10 or more of these items, because she's exploding. Okay, do you see how useful this is to understand this as we're trying to evaluate things? Okay. So in her human side, this is what she's dealing with, and this is what's been driving her on her human side. Now, as long as we understand that, we can go to the next area, which is spirit, which always has a solution. So let's go to spirit and see what it tells us, okay? Because it always has a solution. Well, this was in brain. And let's go to spirit. Well, we've got the same 4 items, and let's check those. So it's health, wealth, relationships, or time. I go to that, primary truth. Primary truth. The first issue that comes up is time. Now you notice time was second when it was in the brain. Now the first issue is time. And now time in the spirit area is always about the moment. It's not about the past, not about the future, it's always about the moment. Living in the moment. Now in the moment, she's okay. In the moment, there's no pressure on her, there's nothing that's trying to harm her or hurt her in any way. So it's telling her that she has to learn how to start living in the moment. Now you might say, well, how does a 12-year-old understand that concept? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. But this is always about the present. Never past or future. Okay, second item. And if I ask health, wealth, relationships, time, second area, that's wealth. And the second is wealth. And I've seen this time after time after time doing this work now. Generally, if I see wealth come up, I'll see time. If I see time come up, generally I'll see wealth. You can't even imagine how often those two are coming up. That's probably 90% of all of our problems on the face of this earth, or at least how we perceive it. Okay? Well, we go back. We go back into wealth. It's either about business or personal, so let's save some time. If I ask her now from the spirit area, primary truth, it's personal now. It's no longer business. Okay, it's no longer business. It's personal. So she's going now, it's wealth, and now we have personal. Now the personal is about her, like self, or others, primary truth, primary truth itself. It's herself. Now, Spirit is telling us that the way out from what she's relying upon, the way out of all this is to understand that the truth lies within us. That the only way out for all of us is to get back and try to understand ourselves. Now, how does a 12-year-old begin to understand themselves? How do you begin to deal with this issue? Because think of what we just did here. She gave control over to her external environment, which is what we always do when we're living from brain or heart. That someone, something out there has all the answers. So she's thinking, because of what she's gone through around 2 years of age, she's thinking, if I have money, not other things, money. This is a very advanced little girl. If I have money, then I can buy myself in my independence. No one will hurt me, nothing can harm me, I can be free. So we know immediately when we start thinking that way, we are going to fail. Because it's not about us, it's about other things. Making sense? Okay. We know the Spirit is saying that for her to get well, she now has to ignore what's out there and go inside. Even though it's painful to go inside, she has to now start working on the inside to start finding her truth and her answers from inside. Now, this is a 12-year-old. Now, because we're in her energetic field like she's in ours, she's trying to tell us, everyone in this room here, that if we want to get to the next level of our prosperity, health, wealth, relationships, and time, she's telling us right now that you and I have to go deeper into who and what we really are. We have to like ourselves more. We have to understand ourselves better. We have to give ourselves more appreciation. We have to extend that to others because she's trying, that little girl is trying to use money in place of what other people are not giving her. The things we need for ourselves first. Am I being objective here? Does it make sense? So Sandra, how can you help your granddaughter knowing this? What could you do to help her?
Well, she's a very spiritual person. And I'm always encouraging her to find what she enjoys in life.
Okay.
What brings her happiness. That's what what do you say when this happens? You know, besides I'm so grateful you're here and that she's put on this planet for an incredible life and experiences. And so she loves art, she loves music, she's good in science and math. These are externals, I know, but those things are enjoyable to her.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I take her to art museums or I do whatever I think she's interested in. My job with all our grandkids is to encourage them in whatever is them, not what society says you're supposed to be. You know, because society's really screaming at them.
Right.
So I'm the grandma who does the experiences with them.
Okay. Now, everything you said is great, and it is good, but think about the opportunity here. Is it really about her, or is this really about you?
It's about everybody.
Right now.
I'm talking about me.
Right. Right. In other words, let me see if we're saying the same thing.
Okay.
What you're saying is this, according to Spirit. Spirit is saying that when you're around your granddaughter, of course you want to show her all these things, but we want to show her those good things simply because it's inside of us. The pleasure you're trying to have her see has got to be the pleasure inside of you. In other words, all the things that make you happy, no matter what they are, I don't care what it is, no matter what you have to face, no matter what you need to do next, in order to help her understand that it comes from in here, she has to see that in you and us and everyone else in this room.
Yeah.
Making
Yes.
sense?
It's the authenticity of it.
Right, right. It's owning what
Yes.
we want her to have.
Who I am.
Right.
Mhm.
She
Who
wants
I
that.
really am.
That's right. She's got to get back to herself. So
Yes.
she's encouraging us to get back to ourselves.
Yeah, I knew this just wasn't about her. I mean, I knew it from
Right.
the moment it happened.
Right. This is the whole thing. That's right.
You know, we're one with each other, so
That's right.
there you go.
That's it. So what would you do, how would you put her into your circle? What would you do about that? I mean, like when you're trying to show her that joy, what would you do for her and for you?
Well, to me, it's about life and love, acceptance, appreciation.
Right.
Real appreciation.
Right,
That's one thing in my life in the past, I didn't appreciate myself.
right.
Very good at encouraging other people, appreciating them, but for me, it was difficult.
Okay. So now the last part of this, we're asking her to take a big step forward, and the big step is to stop looking out there for answers, even though she's only 12. And so that means we've got to now do something for ourselves that we may be afraid of or hesitant doing, so that we can see the joy of working in here.
Right.
So what would you do for yourself next that would really release a lot of joy and gratitude when you overcome it, as you're working from the inside?
It's sharing my talent, because that brings me joy.
Right,
I may have some fear in the beginning, but when I do it, there's joy, because I know I'm doing what I'm here to do.
right, right. So if
That's
there-
the authentic me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's some public speaking you want to do, if there's some
Exactly.
groups you want to go to, this is the time to really face that from in here. Let her see that, the joy that you have and the success that you have, so she understands what's really going on. And that's the best way of helping her,
Yeah,
and that'll work very fast.
I can do that.
Yep, you can do that. Okay. Make sense? Okay. Anyone else? Any other story you want to evaluate?
I was just thinking about the positive male energy in her life. Who's the positive male energy in her life at this point?
There's not much there.
It's kind of, she needs positive male energy that's stable and won't leave her. That just came up, so.
That's not a surprise at all, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
And you are right about that. But let's suppose we could send out, because you brought this up, this is a very good point, we could bring out trust that there are great guys out there, and I can have a fantastically great relationship with a person who would not just love me, but love my family too. So now we're bringing in this person for us that works well with your family, and everyone gets helped, and people can watch the miracle in front of their eyes, okay? You brought it up. This is
I know you're right. I know this is correct.
Right.
Yeah, that would heal a lot in me, it would heal a lot in her.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to take that leap forward and let it happen, because we just gotta let it happen, it would help them too. Now, this is not easy.
Absolutely.
This is not easy,
Absolutely. It's
Take a
right?
deep breath.
Right?
Pardon?
Take a deep breath.
Breathe.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's why being teachers, doctors, being people that try to help others, you've gotta take this seriously. And if we're not doing it, we can't ask them to do it. You know? So the people in this room are authentic. You guys are authentic. You're facing these issues, and that's why you're being successful. And the more you face it, the more opens. The more opens. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? You want to take a story? We can go through it.
Now, I just want to say that, so having worked with teenagers for 20-some-odd years, especially now with all their phones and their media and all that, I think it's important to, maybe on a daily basis or a couple of times a week, shoot her just a little, say, you're an awesome creation of God, you were so artistic, just some, something to just, that'll bring a smile to her face and make her feel her worth.
Right. That's right. That's a good idea.
And you can do it every day, just a little short line.
Well, she lives down the street,
Well,
and I pick
doesn't
her up
make
from
any
school. I mean, it's
difference.
even easier.
Yeah, it's even easier,
In
but
person.
just when she's least expecting, you just
Yeah.
do that for teens. That is so important, because they sort of, wow, after a while, they start, that self-esteem is building, they're getting to feel that they really are somebody. When you're complimenting them on something, there's, whatever it is, you have a, beautiful smile, you just make my day, your smile makes my day every time I see you, just whatever it could be. Just,
That's right.
but when they see this, it just builds and builds, and they feel, wow. I think it goes back to, somebody years ago told me, make believe you are, it's been so long ago, make believe you are, and it will take you far. You are just as great as you make believe you are. Sometimes they need to hear things enough times,
Right.
and they
believe it.
They believe it. I used to do that in business when I was trying to go out and do some sales pitches. I would,
Fake it
I
till
would
you
always
make it.
do that. Make believe you are. The trick will take you far. You are just as great as you make believe you are. There we go. I was there.
Got it.
I know that I have grandkids like you do, and so one of the things that whenever they're riding with me, I'll start off, you're gonna tell me what we're grateful for today. So, and the first time we started playing this gratitude game, it was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I said, sure you do. Let me give you an example. So we started it, and now they get in the car and they start asking, let's play the gratitude game, let's play the gratitude game. So it helps.
And you're doing it in the moment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like what happened in the past
No.
or what we're doing in the future, it's the
Correct.
moment.
It's the moment.
It's the moment.
It's the moment.
That's
Yeah.
another important part of this. A good job, good work. Oh,
I want to address the issue of male influence and children. In my storytelling with young children, I've had some mind-blowing experiences. And what I have found with the majority of them that I worked with, they wanted an adult to pay serious attention to them, to give them their full attention and show an interest in them. And so I look into their eyes and I read their eyes and I tell them positive things. Well, I was telling some stories to a group of what they call at-risk kids. And there was a young man there that I looked in his eyes and I just knew that he was going to be successful. So I spent a little extra time talking to him, and something that he asked me changed my life. He looked me straight in the eye and he said, "Are you a policeman?" This young man had never had a male show interest in him that wasn't a cop or part of some juvenile detention service or whatever, and he couldn't believe that a man would encourage him, listen to him, and whatever. And it was so sincere when he said it. I just couldn't believe it. And so they're craving that. And this, get rid of the phones, get rid of everything, and just talk to them one-on-one. And they soak it up.
Since we're talking about that, thank you. So we're talking about this. Let me digress for just a moment here, but along those lines. Think about the two potential presidential candidates. It's going to be Donald Trump and then Hillary. Okay. Trump, where does he come from? Brain, heart, or spirit?
New York.
Right.
Brain.
Yeah. As long as you say New York, you know. It's right. Okay. How about Hillary? No, we do know. We do know. We absolutely do know. Where is she coming from? Brain, heart, or spirit?
Censored.
I'd say
Benghazi.
Heart. Very good. Heart. Very, very good. So if this election were to start, today, this country is generally running as a heart country. She would win today. She would win today. Now, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to keep saying, and keep saying it. We're in trouble. This country, we're becoming the fractured states of America. We're not the United States of America, the way this is going. We've got to have a change, and I don't care what you think. I can guarantee you she's not it. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think about me. I would never, ever vote for her for any number of reasons. I have trouble even voting for Donald Trump. And any of them. But of the two, it's like Lucifer versus a lesser demon. Now, we have a choice. We have a choice here, because if this country falls and we lose our values, then the whole world goes. Because this country has helped the entire world. And I mean this. This is one of the reasons why we're developing this, to try to get this out to people before they make a lot of bad mistakes. I'm encouraging us tonight that we start sending our energies in as a unifying force into this country so that we can see the truth, because I can guarantee you, if you look at Washington, and you look at all of the different areas of Washington, we've got demons running around like you can't believe. There must be hundreds, maybe millions of them running around, all through there, thumbing their nose at us right now, telling us that we can't do anything to stop them. That's what they're actually doing this. They're thumbing their nose at us saying, you can't touch us. Now, we have all these people, because they're living in the world, that are being controlled by this, and they're going to destroy the greatest country in the world. They're going to destroy it. Okay? If this country falls, the entire world falls. Now, I love this place, and I don't want to see this happen. And I want the best person to win. I want someone in that presidency that's going to actually do something to unite us and give us an opportunity, because there should be more than enough money in this country to help everyone. There should be more than enough opportunities to help everyone in this country. There should be more than enough work, more than enough of everything in this country to help everyone, because until recently, there was. So I'm asking us tonight to get serious about this. Help ourselves, our families. Let's go into this country. Let's go into Washington. And let's put this wall of protection around there and drive these things out of there, so that the true people, because there are patriots there, let them come to the forefront, let this country turn around so we can see the truth and get people in there that are going to help us. Because right now it's sad on both sides of the political fence. And if you got any better ideas, let me hear it. If you want to add anything, please.
Excellent.